Good afternoon and welcome to the ELRP lesson. Today's lesson is for the grade 9 and it's lesson number 33. We are going to tackle, we are going to tackle the verbs, but we are not going to look at all the different verbs that we have, but on how to identify them in a sentence. Remember, it is very important that you are able to identify them as part of speech if a question comes up on that skill. So today we are going to look at how we can be able to identify them. But before that, what is a verb? These are parts of speech, a category, and a part of speech is a category of words that describes the role of a word plays in a sentence. Therefore, they are parts of speech that expresses an or a state of being. So they express a state of being. They signify the part of the sentence which explains the action taking place. The action taking place is the buzzword. For example, he runs away, she eats chocolate cake on Sundays. The two words there, runs and eats, are our verbs because they do what? They explain the action taking place. There are two actions taking place there. First one is running, and the second one is eating. Therefore, these two words, runs and eats, are our verbs. Then, how to recognize a verb? Verbs almost always come after a noun or a pronoun. Almost always, not always, almost always. For an example, Mark or he eats his dinner quickly. Mark and he are nouns or subject in the sentence, then eats. Can you see where the position of the verb? Here is our verb. There is Mark and he. Just before that, we have our noun, and then immediately after that, we have our verb. That's why they say they come after a noun or a pronoun. Then you must look at the following word order. You must understand the following word order in order to identify a verb in a sentence. The subject-verb agreement. Verb must agree with their subject in person, the person we talk of, the first person, the second person, and the third person. And in number, singular and plural. Therefore, two conditions must be met there. The first one is they must agree with their subject, the condition number one, in person, and number two, in number. For singular subjects, use singular verbs, and for plural subjects, use plural verbs. For singular subject, our subject here is a what? Is a dog. It's our subject. It is singular. It's only one dog. It's singular. Therefore, this will be our verb. The dog, one dog, barks loudly. And our dog is a subject in third person. So it is our subject, which is singular, in a third person. Remember what we said? We said it must agree in person and in number. Therefore, we have the dog, which is the singular, and then we have the dog again, which is the third person. A plural subject. In plural subject, the dogs, how many dogs now? We have more than one dog. So the dogs bark loudly. Here only one dog barked loudly, but now here we have many dogs barking loudly. Can you see? Now that our subject is in plural, it loses the what? S here because now it is more than one dog. We can't say the dogs barks loudly. It will not agree in person and in number. Therefore, the dogs bark loudly. What are common verbs? We have phrasal verbs. They are a combination of words that are used together to take a different meaning to that of the original verb. For example, make up, hand in, bring up, point up. These are phrasal verbs. What do we mean? They have more than one word. It's more than one word. It's more than one word, more than one word, more than one word. So it's a phrase of two words. Therefore, they are phrasal verbs. An example here, she likes to make up stories about her absence. So make up is phrasal because it's more than one word that make up that verb. We have irregular verbs. Irregular verbs don't take on the regular spelling patterns of past simple and past participle verbs. For example, say, make, go, take, come, know. Remember, in the past tense, they don't take the regular pattern of the regular spelling pattern. So it will change to said, made, went, etc. So go becomes went is not regular spelling patterns, it is irregular. Meaning the word changes totally. She comes tomorrow morning, and then it will be she came tomorrow morning. So it will change to came in past tense or in the past participle. Then we have irregular verbs. Here an example of irregular verbs as I've annotated them. Then we have regular verbs. They take on regular spelling patterns because of past simple and past participle. They talk on the what? The regular spelling patterns. Look at help. You just remember for regular verbs, you just add ed, ed, ed for the verb to go into past or past participle. That is why we're saying they are regular. You can still see help here, you can still see cook here, and there you can still see manage. But there, say it changed totally to said, make it changed totally to made, go it changed totally to went and gone, and take changed totally to took and taken. Can you see the difference now? There are different forms a verb can take. We have base forms or infinite forms. The basic form of a verb often preceded by to, for example, to run or to eat. These are infinitive forms. The second form here is past form. They used to show actions that have already taken place. The action had already taken place. We have past participle. They are used in perfect tenses and passive voices. Remember, the participles are used in perfect tenses and is, e.g., run and eaten. She has eaten her food. The food were eaten by him. The first one was perfect tense. She has eaten her food. Then the second one is a passive voice. The food were eaten by her. Then progressive form, the ing, it shows an ongoing actions and is used in continuous. Sometimes the examiner will not use the word continuous, but ask you to change the sentence or rewrite the sentence in progressive form. So remember that continuous and progressive, same thing. And how do you identify them? With ing at the end of the verb. So this verb, the two verbs here, running and eating, are in progressive. Then, how to recognize them? We have physical verbs. They describe specific physical actions, even when the action isn't very active. If the action is done by the body or a tool, consider it a physical verb. For example, Jabu runs every day. Here is Jabu. He runs every day. Now, this one is where there is an action. The Jabu is actively running. You can see his legs, the knee is bending up and his hands are moving sideways. Therefore, he's actively running. Now, the second example, Tumi looks at the floor. This one is physical. Look at Tumi. We can see that she's looking down at the floor. Therefore, she's not active. But you can see that down. It's now between an active and a physical verbs. The one is action is taking place, you can see it, but the other one is somehow physical. She's not moving her head, she's not moving her body, but she's actively looking down. Then we have mental verbs. These verbs have meaning that are related to concepts such as discovering, understanding, thinking, or planning. They cannot be seen physically. For example, Khoto thinks too much. Let's look at Khoto here. He thinks too much. Can you see Khoto thinking? No. It out that the way Khoto is so quiet and focused, he is thinking, but you cannot see that action of thinking. That's why you call them the action happens mentally. Then we have state of being or linking verbs. They describe conditions or situations that exist. For example, they are friends. Here they are. 1, 2, 3 of them are friends. Or we can say they are discussing something or they are talking about something. This is a condition or a situation and it exists. Then lastly, we have auxiliary verbs. They are used together with the main verb to show the verb's tense or to form a question or a negative. They let the reader know when the action took place. For example, Musele has managed to stand up. There is Musele. You can see that she managed to stand up. She was seated and she managed to stand up. We can use them as questions. Has Musele managed to stand up? Or in negative form, Musile has not managed to stand up. Or has Musile not managed to stand up? If it's a question in negative, then Musile has managed to stand up. If it's a statement. And lastly, please remember, once you are asked to rewrite this sentence in a negative form, please remember, once you have an auxiliary verb, what you only have to do is what? Is to add not next to it, and then that sentence will be in a negative form. Brings us to the end of the lesson. I hope that you have learned something new today. Until we meet again in term 4, thank you very much. You can see that today I'm also annotating my presentations, and thanks to Mr. Paul Potreter. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mpanya.